Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you something right now. You think just going no contact is enough to make that man regret losing you. Look, I know when somebody breaks your heart, the first move a lot of people make is to go no contact, block him, delete the number, ghost him, shut it all down. And listen, I get it. Sometimes you have to do that just to breathe again, just to stop yourself from calling, from texting, from chasing closure you probably ain't ever gonna get. But let me break this to you gently. No contact by itself, it's not the victory. It's just the opening act. You think you're winning just because you stopped answering the phone. But if you're sitting in the dark every night, refreshing his page, wondering who he's with, crying into your pillow, baby, that ain't no contact. That's just physical silence and emotional chaos. You're not punishing him by disappearing. You're punishing yourself if you stay stuck emotionally in the same space he left you in. No contact is a tool. It's not a transformation. The real work begins after you cut that cord. That silence has to turn into something. It has to turn into progress, into power, into healing. It has to become the space where you rebuild everything that man tore down in you. And if you don't do that part, you'll be tempted to go back just to feel something again, even if it hurts. You can't just go no contact and expect that to make him feel the loss. You want to make him feel it. Let him see that you use that silence to level up, that you use the space to reintroduce yourself to you. Let him hear about the woman who didn't just walk away, but who evolved. Now that's what echoes. I see too many people treat no contact like it's the whole healing process. Nah, it's the door shutting behind you. The question is, what are you walking into now that you're free? What are you building? What are you feeding your soul with now that the distractions are gone? See, no contact has to be followed by self-contact. Let that sit for a second. Because some of y'all went no contact with him but still haven't reconnected with yourselves. You stopped talking to him, but you still haven't spoken kindly to your own spirit. You still replay the old relationship. You still define yourself by who you were with him, not who you could be without him. And until that changes, you haven't really moved. Silence isn't strength if you're still suffering inside it. You got to do something with that quiet. You got to use that space to dig into the parts of you that were ignored, abandoned, or just straight up mistreated. You got to sit in that silence and ask yourself, why did I tolerate that? What was I afraid of losing? Why didn't I feel like I deserved better? And when those answers come, don't run from them. Face them. Because that's where your freedom is. People always think the power's in the blocking. Nah, the power's in the becoming. You can block a man and still be broken, or you can block him, do the work, rise up and become a woman, so whole, so healed, so joyful, that even you don't recognize the version of you who stayed in that mess for so long. Don't use no contact like a weapon. Use it like a window to a better version of you. A chance to finally hear your own voice again after months or years of trying to be heard by someone who never listened. You can't control whether he misses you, but you can control whether you use this moment to change your life. Let me say this too. Sometimes no contact is the easy part because it's external. It's action you can take with your phone. But the real part, that's internal. That's when you sit with your loneliness and don't run back. That's when you get triggered and still choose not to call. That's when you pass him in public and smile. Not because you're pretending, but because you actually have peace. That's how you win. Not by blocking him, by blessing yourself, by investing in yourself so deeply that you no longer need that relationship to feel validated, wanted, or whole. So yeah, go no contact if you need to. Sometimes that's necessary, but don't stop there. That's just the first step in a much bigger journey. The goal isn't to be quiet. The goal is to be different, to come out of that storm not just scarred but smarter, not just alone but aligned, not just surviving but thriving. Because in the end, no contact isn't the punishment. Your growth is, your healing is, your peace is. That's what leaves a lasting impact. That's what makes him look back and realize he lost something he can never get back. You want to make him feel it, really feel it. Then stop focusing on what he's doing and start focusing on what you could be doing. That man is not going to wake up one day suddenly broken because you stopped calling. But you know what might break him? Watching you become the version of yourself he never thought you'd become without him. That's what levels the playing field. That's what makes him realize he didn't just lose a good woman. He lost a woman who was about to be great. See, the real glow up doesn't start in your looks. It starts in your mindset. It starts when you look in the mirror and say, I ain't living like this anymore. It starts when you stop begging for closure and start demanding results from yourself. Because let's be real, sometimes we fall so deep into a relationship that we forget we had goals, we had passions, we had things we wanted to build. Then somewhere along the way, we got caught up pouring into somebody who couldn't even pour back. So now, the challenge is this. Take all that energy you gave him and give it to yourself. Level up. Take care of your body. I'm not saying hit the gym just to post thirst traps. Unless you want to, go ahead, do you. But I'm talking about real care. Strengthen yourself. Health, fitness, routine. Those things aren't just for looks. They're for discipline. They teach you how to be consistent again. How to show up for yourself when nobody else is. And let's talk about your money. That relationship might have cost you emotionally, but don't let it rob you financially too. Get your bag. Fix your credit. Start the business you kept putting on hold because he didn't believe in it. Or worse, he didn't believe in you. Let your independence speak louder than any words you could ever text him. Nothing's more attractive than a woman who knows she doesn't need to rely on anybody to make her dreams real. Because when you become self-sufficient, you don't just gain money, you gain freedom. Then there's your purpose. That passion you shelved, that vision you blurred because you were too busy trying to hold a man together. Go back and get that. Dust it off. Breathe life back into it. Maybe it's writing, maybe it's designing, maybe it's going back to school. Whatever it is, chase it like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. Your joy, your sense of self, your fire, it's all wrapped up in you doing what lights you up. And don't forget about your peace. A woman with peace is powerful. Start saying no to drama. Stop entertaining people who just want access, but bring no value. You ever notice how loud peace feels when you've been stuck in chaos too long? It's almost uncomfortable at first. You sit there like there's something wrong. No, baby. That's just peace. Get used to it. Protect it. That right there is your new standard. Let your growth speak for itself. Don't post it all, don't announce it. Just be it. You ain't gotta prove anything. Real level ups are silent. They happen when you change your habits, your circle, your conversation. When you stop talking about him and start talking about what's next for you, that's when the shift happens. And trust me, people will notice. He will notice. Not because you're trying to be seen, but because your light got too bright to ignore. Now let me tell you something important. You don't do all this to get him back. That's not what this is about. You're not leveling up to become desirable to him again. You're doing it because you deserve to see what your life looks like when you stop shrinking for someone else. You do it because you owe it to yourself to find out just how far you can go when nobody's holding you back. And in that process, you become a version of you that isn't waiting on a phone call or an apology or a second chance. You become the woman who doesn't chase, doesn't compete, doesn't settle. The woman who walks in the room and knows her worth, who laughs without bitterness, who sleeps without crying. The woman who built something beautiful after being broken. That's the level up that mattered. That's the transformation that hits different. Because one day, mark my words, he's gonna see it. Maybe in a photo, maybe in a friend's story, maybe walking past you in public. And he's gonna pause. Not just because you look good, but because you glow. Because you don't carry that pain anymore. Because you turned it into power. Because the woman he knew is gone and the woman you became doesn't even look back. Let me tell you something that a lot of people miss when they're trying to heal from a breakup or trying to show someone what they lost. You think the pain, the silence, the absence, that's what gets to him. But what really gets him, what really makes him sit in his thoughts is when he sees you at peace. I mean, real peace. Not that fake it for social media peace. Not that staged I'm fine smile. I'm talking about the kind of peace you don't have to post because it shows up in your walk, in your energy, in the way you carry yourself. See, you've been hurt. I know you have. You've cried. You've questioned yourself. You've gone through the nights where you stare at the ceiling asking, why wasn't I enough? You've gone through that storm, but now it's time to calm the storm inside of you. Not because you want him to notice, but because you deserve to feel good again. You deserve to sleep well, to laugh fully, to walk through life without feeling like you're dragging around 1,000 pounds of emotional weight. That peace, that's your real revenge. That's what makes a man realize what he had. Because when you stop reacting, when you stop posting cryptic quotes, when you stop trying to make him jealous, what you're really saying is, I don't need you to notice me anymore. I notice myself, and that's powerful. You want to know how to make him feel it? Be genuinely happy. Be unbothered. Be the kind of woman who's so focused on her healing and her future that she ain't got time to dwell on what broke her. When you post, don't post pain. Post purpose. Post joy. Post you out there living, not for validation, not to be seen, but because that's who you are now. He's gonna scroll one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day he's gonna land on your page or hear your name in a conversation, and it's gonna hit him. Not because of what you said, but because of how you didn't say anything. That's silence backed by peace. That's different. That's not bitterness. That's confidence. And confidence doesn't need to prove anything. There's a calm that comes over a woman when she's healed. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's in the way she smiles without hesitation. It's in the way she walks into a room like she belongs there because she knows she does. It's in the way she laughs, not because she's trying to be seen, but because she finally feels free again. That's what he remembers. That's what he misses. Not just the good times, but the way you made life feel lighter. And now that light is shining on you. Sometimes you gotta stop trying to be heard. You gotta stop trying to explain your worth to somebody who is too distracted to see it. Let your life speak for you. Let your growth do the talking. When he realizes you didn't just move on, you elevated, that's when it sinks in. That's when he finally sees that you were never the one who lost. I want you to understand something real deep right now. When you find your peace again, when you get your soul back to still waters, you start choosing differently. You start protecting your energy. You stop answering texts that bring confusion. You stop entertaining people who only want you when it's convenient. You stop explaining yourself to folks who already made up their mind about you. Peace brings clarity. It gives you a new lens. And once you've seen life through peace, chaos ain't attractive no more. You gotta guard that peace like it's treasure, because it is. Don't let that man or any man pull you back into the version of you that cried yourself to sleep, that settled for crumbs, that questioned her worth. You came too far. You cried too many nights. You fought too many inner battles to get here. And now that you're here, own it, walk in it, breathe in it. There's power in walking away and even more power in walking away with grace. You don't need to slam doors. You don't need to make announcements. You just need to live well, to be well, to love yourself so deeply that no part of you feels the need to go back to what broke you. He's going to remember that peace. He's going to think back to the way your presence used to calm him down, to the way you held him together when he didn't even realize he was falling apart. And now when he's sitting alone, surrounded by noise but missing silence, your silence, it's going to hit different. Not because you're punishing him, but because he finally feels the absence of the peace you brought into his life. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't even need an apology. You just need peace. And once you have that, once you wear that peace like a crown, he's going to feel it. And that's when he realizes you were the peace he should have never lost. Now here's where a lot of y'all get stuck, and I need you to hear me on this one. Your silence isn't enough if your energy is still accessible. You can block his number, ignore his texts, avoid his calls, but if your energy is still wrapped around him, if you're still giving him mental real estate, you haven't really left. You just moved your body, but your spirit's still sitting on that same front porch, waiting for him to come back. And that right there is why so many people keep feeling stuck even when they've cut him off. Let me be real with you. Your energy speaks louder than any post, any phone call, any message. And if you're still moving through your days wondering what he's thinking, who he's with, if he misses you, if he's watching your stories, baby, he's still got you. He may not have your voice, but he's got your vibe. And you need to take that back. You need to stop letting your energy be available to someone who didn't value it when it was right in front of him. Here's what I know. People can feel when you've truly detached. There's a shift. It's not in what you say, it's in what you don't entertain anymore. It's in the silence that's no longer heavy with hope, but light with certainty. That's the kind of silence that makes him look around and realize, wait, she's gone. Not physically, not just socially, but emotionally, spiritually. She ain't here no more. And let me tell you something, that is when he feels it. Because when your energy shifts, your whole vibe changes. You stop checking for him. You stop trying to decode his actions. You stop hoping he'll circle back. You're no longer reactive. You become untouchable. And that's the energy that hits. That's the energy that makes someone realize they don't have access to you anymore. Not just because you blocked them, but because they don't even recognize you now. You want to reclaim your energy, then stop romanticizing what happened. Stop replaying the memories like they were perfect. Remember the truth. Remember the times you felt small, confused, anxious, not enough. See it clearly, not through the lens of loneliness, but through the lens of reality. Because that's what helps you stop emotionally investing in someone who already checked out. You have to start taking your energy and feeding it back into you, the same way you used to wake up wondering how to make him smile. Wake up and pour that into your own happiness. Take that emotional labor you used to give him and give it to your growth, your peace, your power. Channel that energy into creating something solid for yourself. A woman who reclaims her energy becomes magnetic, not because she's trying to attract anyone, but because her focus, her presence, her peace, it radiates. And here's the thing. Reclaiming your energy means you stop rehearsing conversations in your head. You stop writing texts you'll never send. You stop playing out the fantasy of him realizing what he lost and coming back changed. You stop letting your mind be a stage for a man who didn't appreciate the role you played in his life. That mental space is yours, and it's too expensive to rent out to someone who couldn't even meet you halfway. And let's talk about boundaries, because that's where this really shows up. You can't say you're done and then respond to a "hey stranger" at 11. You can't say you've moved on and then still light up when he views your story. That's mixed energy. That's saying one thing and feeling another. And trust me, he can feel that too. If there's a crack in the door, he'll knock. If there's a flicker of your attention still lingering, he'll use it. You gotta close it, seal it, not just for him but for you. Because as long as he still has a way to pull on your energy, you'll never feel fully free. So what does it look like to take your energy back? It looks like emotional discipline. It looks like loving yourself enough to walk away from confusion. It looks like replacing the habit of overthinking with the habit of overloving yourself. It looks like filling your days with purpose so you stop craving distraction. It looks like being so in tune with your peace that the sound of his voice doesn't even stir anything in you anymore. Let me tell you, when your energy is fully yours again, you don't even flinch when his name comes up. You don't second guess your decisions. You don't hope for reconciliation, because you've created a space so whole, so grounded, that the thought of shrinking back into that old version of yourself feels like betrayal. And he'll feel it. Oh, he'll feel it. Not just in the silence, but in the shit. He'll feel it when he sees you glow in a way that doesn't have his fingerprints on it. When he sees you laugh with your whole chest, smile with your whole soul. When he realizes the energy he once took for granted now belongs to you, not him. That's when it hits different. That's when he understands. You didn't just leave, you took your power with you. Now, let's talk about something most people avoid: accountability. Yeah, I know that word makes some folks uncomfortable, but hear me out. If you want to take your power back and really make him feel it, not in a petty way, but in a way that says, I've grown beyond what you left, then you got to own your part. I'm not saying it was your fault. I'm not saying you deserved what happened. But I am saying this: the moment you start taking responsibility for where you ignored the signs, for where you abandoned yourself to keep him, for where you kept trying to fix a broken situation, you begin to heal for real. See, there's a lot of strength in looking at yourself and saying, I allowed too much. I tolerated things that hurt me. I stayed when I should have walked. That kind of honesty is painful, but it's also liberating, because now you're not a victim of his behavior. You're a student of your own growth. That shift changes everything. That's when your healing becomes real. That's when your confidence isn't just on the surface. It's rooted, because you've done the work. It's easy to sit back and replay all the things he did wrong. It's natural to feel angry or disappointed or heartbroken, but at some point you gotta ask yourself, why did I keep giving someone the blueprint to hurt me? That's not weakness. That's love misdirected. You loved hard. You believed in potential. You hoped for better. But now you learn from it. Taking accountability doesn't mean you're blaming yourself. It means you're reclaiming control. Because the truth is, if you only focus on what he did, you stay stuck in the past. But when you start asking, what did I ignore? Where did I silence myself? Why did I stay? That's when you start taking steps toward a future that looks nothing like that past. That's when you stop repeating patterns. You ever wonder why people keep dating the same kind of person in a different body? It's because they never sat down and got real with themselves about what they were choosing and why. They never held themselves accountable for the standards they compromised, for the boundaries they blurred. And if you don't reflect, you repeat. Period. So when you hold yourself accountable, you don't just break up with him, you break up with the version of yourself that allowed less than she deserved. And let me tell you something, when a woman starts doing that deep work, when she starts asking herself the hard questions and answering them honestly, she becomes unstoppable. She starts choosing herself, not from a place of bitterness, but from a place of clarity. She starts walking into rooms with her head high, not because she needs to prove anything, but because she finally sees herself clearly. You want to make him feel it, then become someone he can't reach. Not because you blocked him, but because he wouldn't even know how to approach the woman you are now. He won't even recognize you. The woman he knew settled. The woman you are now set standards. The woman he knew made excuses. The woman you are now enforces boundaries. That transformation is undeniable, and he'll feel it. But it all starts with accountability. Not with revenge, not with waiting for karma, not with hoping he realizes what he lost. It starts with you looking at yourself and saying, what can I learn? What can I do differently next time? What am I no longer willing to accept? That's where the shift happens. Healing ain't passive. It's not about waiting to feel better. It's active. It's messy. It's waking up and deciding, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying in this pain. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna evolve. You wanna grow? Then stop pretending you didn't see the red flags. Stop romanticizing the good times and start remembering the whole picture. Accountability lets you see it all. The good, the bad, the parts you missed, the parts you ignored. And once you see it all, you can choose better. And here's what most people don't realize. When you start taking accountability, you begin to forgive yourself. That's where real healing begins. You stop being mad at yourself for loving him. You stop beating yourself up for staying too long. You start saying, I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. And from that place, you grow. You become wiser, stronger, sharper. You don't let the pain define you. You let it refine you. And guess what? That's what makes him feel it. Not the silence, not the distance, but the fact that you took your pain, faced your reflection, and chose to rise. The fact that you're no longer the version of you that tolerated confusion, disrespect, or crumbs of love. The fact that you've outgrown the space he had access to. That's what hits. That's what echoes. And it doesn't just affect him, it affects you. It changes the way you walk into new relationships. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop settling for attention when what you want is affection. You start knowing your value, and you don't lower it for anybody. So if you want to make him feel it, take your power back by holding yourself accountable for every moment you gave too much. For every time you let love outweigh logic, then take that lesson, apply it, and keep moving forward. That's how you grow. That's how you shine. That's how you let him feel it without ever looking back. Because when a woman learns from her past, she becomes the kind of woman the past can never touch again. You know, there's something powerful about not just moving on, but moving forward. And those two are not the same. See, a lot of people move on physically. They change their number. They delete the pictures. They stop checking his profile. But moving forward, that's different. Moving forward means you're no longer walking with the past in your shadow. You're no longer trying to make sure he sees how well you're doing. You're not performing healing. You're living it. And when you live it, it shows up in the most beautiful ways. It shows up in how you laugh again, deep from your belly, without checking to see if anyone's watching. It shows up in how you walk into a room without shrinking yourself, without wondering if you're too much or not enough. It shows up when you no longer hesitate to dream bigger, love harder, but this time with boundaries, with awareness, with your eyes wide open. That's the next level of growth. That's the kind of elevation that makes the old version of you feel like a stranger. And when you reach that space, he feels it too. Not because you told him, but because he can sense that you're no longer in orbit around him. Let me tell you something real. When you start creating a future that has absolutely nothing to do with him, that's when he starts feeling your absence like a weight, because you're no longer emotionally tethered to him. You're not reacting. You're not posting to be seen. You're not making subtle moves, hoping he catches wind. You're just gone, not in silence, but in purpose, not in bitterness, but in elevation. And that kind of distance, that kind of evolution, you can't fake that. That's when he realizes he lost access to a version of you that no longer exists. See, moving forward means you stop trying to prove something. It means you stop asking questions like, does he still think about me? And start asking, what do I want now? Who am I becoming? You switch the focus from him to you. That's how you take back your power. That's how you let him feel it, by becoming someone who's too focused on what's ahead to even entertain what's behind. And let's be clear, you're not doing all this to get a reaction. You're not evolving to make a point. You're doing it because staying stuck costs too much. Because you've already spent enough time waiting, hurting, overthinking. Now it's about building something real for yourself. Peace, joy, fulfillment, self-worth that doesn't shake every time someone leaves. Love that starts from the inside out. You ever watch a woman who's finally healed? There's something untouchable about her. Not because she's hard, not because she's cold, but because she's so rooted in her value that nothing outside of her can throw her off balance anymore. That's who you're becoming. That's what you're stepping into. And let me tell you, when a man realizes you don't need his validation anymore, when he sees that your world didn't just continue but thrived without him in it, that's what leaves an imprint. Moving forward also means forgiving, not for him, but for you. Not so you can let him off the hook, but so you can finally unhook yourself from the past. Bitterness is a chain, resentment is a weight, forgiveness sets you free. And when you let go of all that, you start attracting better, not because you're perfect, but because you've done the work, because you've cleared the space. And you don't need to announce your healing. You don't need to post a 30-day glow-up series. Just live, just be, because there's nothing louder than peace. There's nothing more attractive than a woman who has mastered the art of letting go with grace. You want him to feel it, become the version of yourself that no longer needs him to feel anything at all. There's this quiet confidence that comes when you realize your life is no longer revolving around proving your worth to someone. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't convince. That kind of knowing radiates. It walks ahead of you. It speaks before you open your mouth. That's the energy that can't be ignored. He's gonna come across your name one day. Maybe someone brings you up in conversation. Maybe he sees you doing something you always dreamed about. Maybe he stumbles on a post that doesn't even mention him, but somehow it still hits. And in that moment, he won't just remember you. He'll realize he can't reach you anymore, because the version of you he once knew doesn't live here no more. She grew, she healed, she moved forward, and there's no rewind button for that. So if you really want to let him feel it, don't look back. Don't pause your progress, waiting on closure, waiting on clarity, waiting on him to suddenly get it. He had his chance. Now it's your turn. Your turn to create a life that feels like peace. A life where love doesn't come at the cost of losing yourself. A life where you walk in rooms fully aware that you are the prize and you don't need anyone to confirm it. That's the real move. That's the final step. When your presence no longer fills his world and your future no longer makes space for his memory, that's when he feels it the most.